Welcome back to the NBA Nightcap. I'm going to be your host here, Nick, joined by Dave and Lucas. We got another exciting week of the NBA going on. Some little drama going on with Draymond calling out NBA teams. All-star votes are kind of finishing trickling in. We got COVID scares all over the place. 5 total cases, 4 of them on the Spurs. What's going on in Texas, We're praying for the people down there who are struggling with winter storms, but we're going to the real important issue here in this world. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves. Before we get into that first topic, it's the nightcap. I'm having a nice glass of Franzia. That's so botched. Franzia.
Classy as it
Franzia. Boxed dark blend. I got it.
Oh my god.
It's full
What is this,
bodied.
prison?
What is this? Full bodied, nice smelling box wine. And, your man just got back to work. He can't afford anything other than putting more money in his Robinhood account. Yeah, I said it. I support them. I don't care. You guys got anything going on? Lucas, I saw you actually had a bottle for once.
Yep. Just got back and we've got Doers. Just a classic. It was super cheap. It was like $15 this time, and I couldn't say no.
I mean,
Because
you've never said no to doers, let's be honest.
no.
Your first
Full
love.
faithful. Yep.
Dave? What?
I just have some high quality H2O.
H2O? I thought I saw some bird dog there or something. Oh,
No.
my.
Fat ass
Dog?
stops, so just water.
What? Yeah, that's why you drink martinis. They have no calories. That is not a sponsored segment, just so everybody knows.
Oh, not sponsored. The vodka and Mio.
Hey,
But
why even
That
put the
very
Mio
much
in there?
recommended.
Vodka.
Yes, straight
Neat.
vodka.
What are we doing? All right. Enough of our drinks. We're going to be sipping on everything except for Dave. He'll be hydrating. He'll be the one focused throughout this. What the hell do we do with the Timberwolves? Now, wrote up a little piece here. I'm gonna take us through the Timberwolves' tortured life. So, the Minnesota Timberwolves, okay? The thing is with this franchise, they love their talented big man. We started off with Kevin Garnett, one of the all-time great defensive, offensive, all-around players. They built a crappy squad around him for years. They finally ship him off for Big Al, who I love, and give him to Boston, let him ride off into the sunset. Anything is possible, okay? And then they get Big Al, and had to look up the stats of how they started. I was like, they must have been pretty good. He's like a 18-10 kind of guy tonight. They started off 10 losses, and then they won one, and then they got another 10 losses. They finished the season strong, 22 for 60, which, yeah, that's like bottom 5. They lot themselves the 3rd pick in the draft, and they select OJ Mayo. But then they do the most brilliant freaking thing of probably their entire franchise, and they get Kevin Love, another talented big man, shoots the 3, down low, 24 and 12 every single night. So what do they put around him? Not Steph Curry, not, Ricky Rubio for 3 years. They get some Flynn action. What happens to Kevin Love? We ship him for 2 first overall picks. That's good, right? We got Andrew Wiggins, rigging for Wiggins. That's when we kind of like got into the NBA, and one of the worst like top 2 picks drafts in a while. And Anthony Bennett, one of the worst first overall picks I've ever seen.
probably the worst.
Probably the worst for someone who just was never supposed to be a first pick. But it's fine, because it led them to suck so freaking bad they selected Karl Anthony Towns, which brings us back to where we are today. With a shitty Minnesota Timberwolves team. They made the playoffs in 2018 off the back of Jimmy Butler, who then the next year decided to host a practice playing with the 3rd stringers, kicked their ass, gets his ass traded to Philly, takes Philly almost to the conference finals. This isn't a Jimmy Butler segment, but he's really good at basketball and making teams better. Then the Wolves go and do the things the Wolves do best. They trade for D'Angelo Russell. They ship off Andrew Wiggins and their pick. I don't know how that one happened to lead us to today. Dave, do you know how many games D'Angelo Russell and Karl Anthony Towns have played together?
Well, you text in the group chat, so 5.
Oh, you're supposed to kind of build up the 5 total games, and they don't have their pick this year. I guess it's top 3 protected, but they're just decent enough that they get the number 1 pick, Anthony Edwards, this year. We have a roster that is very point guard heavy, and then that's like it. You've got 4 guards who could play and start for most NBA teams. I just got myself worked up. Lucas, you came up with a trade. We're going to just get right into this. Your trade was beautiful. Your first trade. The other
The
3 were just horrible.
I was giving 3 hypothetical scenarios.
Yeah.
And then what would you do?
So
and I don't even like the first one.
I kind of like the first one. But so we were thinking, what do we do with the Wolves? Do we rebuild? Do we just blow it up? Or just kind of go for it? This one is a go for it trade. I've never seen a go for it trade. It's on the screen if you're watching our YouTube. The Wolves receive Robin Lopez, who is just beating up on Jokic tonight, Bradley Beal, and the Wizards are getting D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards and their 2023 first round pick. Walk us through it, Lucas.
Well, the thought really is that you think that even though Towns signed a long-term contract, you only have so much time with him before either he demands a trade or, I feel like franchises don't do the God forbid our star player could get injured at any time thing. But I guess from being a fan of a bad team for a really long time, my mindset is now if you have a guy that you think can lead you to a playoff game, win you playoff games, you have to constantly surround him every single year. You almost have to go all in, just to see how far you can make it with the opportunity you have in front of you. I think this is the only thing that would plausibly get them to that goal. But at the end of the day, adding Beal to this team isn't going to make them a championship team. It may not even get them a guaranteed spot in the playoffs. It may get them to 10, it may be your best shot to get there, but I still think this team is probably pretty bad on defense. Getting rid of D'Lo helps the defense, but then I kind of like Anthony Edwards a lot. So this is where this kind of sucks is I feel like you're trading away Bradley Beal for the guy that looks plausibly like he could develop into Bradley Beal. You're trading for the older version of this player, which is fine. And I get the whole would you trade for a boat or do you want the mystery box? It could be in the mystery box there could be a boat. It's kind of silly.
I want the boat that actually wants to be a boat. That's all with Anthony Edwards.
I think this team has too many core issues at that start in the offseason with Malik Beasley getting arrested. They have way too many, I don't know, inexperienced young guys.
He just has to do a little community service
at the end of the year.
It's fine.
But that's the thing. So you have Malik Beasley, who's obviously pretty immature. You have D'Lo, who's always been really immature. You had Jimmy Butler call the whole freaking team immature. But then I like Culver and I like Okogie. I think they have young, good talent. I just don't think there's any adults in the room to get the job done. I think there's enough talent on this roster for them to be pretty close to 500. Not very far above, but they don't have any adults in the room to get the engine going. They don't have a Chris Paul for the Suns or something, or LeBron when LeBron just joined the Lakers and it was just those young guys and he was just being a total dick, getting everybody trying to get them wins. They don't have an adult in the room. I'm not in love with this trade, but it's win now.
So I've been thinking about it and everything. I'm on the complete opposite side as the win now. I think they should. I really like Anthony Edwards too, and Culver he was amazing for March Madness. Like he pretty much carried that Texas, I think it was Texas Tech, Texas something to the finals.
Texas Tech.
Texas Tech. And I think the best move for the T Wolves would be to trade Cat. You just you go, all right, we're gonna get as many assets as we can for Cat, and we're gonna build around Anthony Edwards and Culver, and then you hope you hit on something as well. Cause I don't like Cat. I've been on the record saying that I do not think he'll ever be like a superstar player who because that 2018 year, he was horrible in the playoffs. Like, and you could tell Jimmy Butler was just getting so frustrated every time because Jimmy was making his own shot and everything, and he would pass it to Cat, and then Cat would just stand there, like mid range, not back in, not play like a center, not even like get open on the 3-point line. So, I think the best move would be to trade Cat.
At least they'd be committing to something, right? Like right now, it doesn't really feel like they're committing to anything because their roster isn't good enough right now. Their young guys aren't carrying the team enough. So like they feel like they're in total limbo, but they shouldn't be because they have enough talent. If you ship Cat, I get it, but I don't know if there's a market for him. Like I don't know what his trade value would be.
I don't know. I don't know if it's that there's a market value for him because there's teams out there. I just don't know if you're gonna get the return. And I mean, I guess like you're gonna trade Cat, and then you're gonna keep a guy who's just like, yeah, I'm really hyped to be a basketball player. Oh no, he's not. He's like, yeah, he's a
Yeah,
good player. He just like, are you not just gonna get in the same cycle for the next 8 years with him? I mean, I just finally I looked up his stats. Like his first 3 games in the playoffs sucked. But couldn't you just say that's the first 3 games he's ever played that are meaningful against the second best team or top 3 team in the last 5 years?
Yeah, but I think that says more about him though that he's been in the league for what, 4, 5? How long has Cat been in the league?
It's his 5th year.
5 years. Yeah, 5 years, and he hasn't even come close to the playoffs other than that one year. Like, and it's not even like, oh, they're like battling for the 8th seed or whatever. They haven't even been close. And
But
I
they're
feel like he is horrible on defense. He's amazing on offense. Like there's
yeah.
no doubt about that. But he's so bad on defense, and like big men need to be good on defense. Like if you have a big man that's not good on defense, his offensive value doesn't even matter. Because like you see it with every good team, they have a good defensive center. Like it doesn't like even though I hate to like be like, oh, well, perimeter defense might not matter as
I thought
much.
you were gonna.
um it
speak it.
it almost
Speak
seems
it.
that way because if you have a good center, it doesn't matter.
I'm gonna go farther. Having a good center doesn't even matter either. It's that no one on this team is buying in, and the minute they bought in was with Thibodeau, and when they had this construct there, they actually like leading with a maturity thing. They keep bringing in these young kids, and the young kids, it's like you never fix the cycle. You have Ricky Rubio there, and he's playing like 16 minutes. And last year, he brought the Suns to like he didn't fully bring the Suns, but he was the leader with you guys and like orchestrated the floor. And I don't even see him. I mean, this year, Cat's played 8 games. He's gotten COVID. He's very like, his first four
He
years
was
he
a
played
wash.
82, 82, 82, 77. I mean, his stats are ridiculous. I mean, I agree because they're not winning anything. Like, but I don't know how much I just put on Cat other than the fact that like the Timberwolves just don't seem to make a single smart like move ever.
Literally
No.
ever. Yeah.
What was who was their center? Pekovic,
Yep.
who
Mm-hmm.
they were just paying for years, and he was making like 12 million, and just like Culver's a nice piece, can't shoot the 3 ball. I honestly one of the biggest pieces I heard today was I was listening to the Charles Barkley and Bill Simmons podcast, and Charles was like, "Look, Cat's taking what 7 threes a game. Why? What big man is gonna guard him in the post? Like 2 guys in the league who could maybe try.
See,
It's
but I
like
think that's I think that's more on Cat though, because like like going back to that playoff series, he was nowhere near the post. And Shaq, I remember, called him out and be like, "You're one of the best big men in the entire league. Like,
But
you
isn't
need to
it?
play in the
It's
post."
it's the last. It's for years we were just like 3 pointers, 3 pointers. These big guys need to shoot threes, need to shoot threes. Stop the post work, stop the post work. And now we're back to, oh crap, there's big guys in the league. Like, what are we doing with our 7'2" guy out on the 3 point line? Like, I think we finally like circled back to the point. It was like, I don't need Cat taking 8 threes a game. Like, he takes a couple, that's fine, but
Like, he needs like to maximize how good he is. Like taking 3 or 4 a game goes and shows that you're a threat and can open up the floor and everything. But when you're for 8 a game, you're just out there in no man's land.
I think the problem is like kind of to what you said, Nick, where like big men are now expected to be able to stretch the floor a bit, be more versatile. But Cat shoots the ball so well from three. I think it makes when he's bad, like when he has off nights,
makes it
so much
worse.
because like I just pulled up his game log from last year. He only played 35 games, but he shot 42% almost, 42% from three, something around there, 41. Like that's amazing. Like you almost if you're shooting at that clip, just keep shooting because that shot is so valuable. But then you have games where they played Memphis and they lost and it looks like it's completely on him because he went 1 for 10 from 3 and it's like, okay, well, that game looks horrible. You
Yeah.
should have done in the paint more. But then like
The
in
games
the
he's
same
going
note,
5 or 7.
right, and then in the same note, in against Utah last year, he hit 7 threes, and it's like, okay, well, we're not gonna be able to have those 7 for 15 from 3 nights. With there's got to be like a give and take. Like you're gonna have these really bad shooting nights, you're gonna have these great shooting nights,
I
and then it kind of regresses to the mean. I don't know if it just like aesthetically looks worse because we watch these games and when they brick these threes, it's like you could have put in a little more effort and just
yeah.
gone to the gone for a layup or tried to make contact or something.
Like
I don't know. I don't know if it's just the way basketball's being played now makes makes some bad nights look a lot worse.
I
I think.
I think Charles brought up a good point when I was listening to it, and because it like we've all said it before, is like shoot the threes, like oh my god, these threes are going in, like they're scoring so many points, but like I was looking at some of the like we found the NBA stats, and I was looking at shooting fouls that they were committing, and like some of these players are never committing shooting fouls because they're 3 pointers. They're not like it happens. We see it a couple times in a game, maybe, but they're like, eh. So none of these guys are getting in foul trouble. Like they're not like maybe once in a while they commit like a reach in or something like that. But it's not like a shooting foul. And we'll see the games where one team has 8 free throws and the other team has 17 free throws. Yet it still balances because if this team hits more threes, like it just but it later in the game you see this team who's hot is gonna cool down a little bit. For like it was the Bucks Suns game the other night. The Bucks were so hot in the first half and it's like it doesn't matter because they're not shooting 57% in the second half. They just won't. It's averages. They're gonna come down. They're gonna cool off a little bit, and that's what happens. The Suns cruised up and they won the game, right?
Mhm.
It's but you have a big man down low. You have someone inside. Like you're getting fouls, and like it's almost like the Bucks should be doing with Giannis. But I just think Cat needs to like he needs like guidance, and I think this year is the hardest year on his is in his entire life. And he said he's like I'm a different person, and maybe
Yeah.
he'll never form into this player we want him to be. But it just seems like Dave, I like agree with you. I want more from him, but I think the fact is his offense is different than any player in this league. Like when I see Embiid be on offense, I'm not like it's good, but it just feels so fluky and clunky and raw. Where like Towns is like he shoots the three, I'm like cool, or he's down low, I'm like this is going in, like he's
That is
gonna score
really underrated.
25. It just feels like a little more like complete.
When you said like growing up in the room and stuff, the only thing I can think back to is the whole Jimmy Butler saga. And I feel like Jimmy was the grown up in the room along with Thibs. And it just seemed like Cat did not work well with that. And then to make things even worse, they go and they trade for his buddy D'Lo, which I mean, it's kind of like the whole like AAU like super team kind of thing,
Mhm.
like this is how it can go bad because it's always been the rumor of the banana boat 2.0 with Booker, D'Lo, and Cat, and you
Yeah.
see it with Cat and D'Lo, and it's like, well, this does not look good. And it's like it's only 5 games they've played and stuff together, but like just like looking at how they play, where it's Cat is super, um, like super bad on defense, D'Lo super bad on defense. They're both amazing scorers, but it's like what it's pretty much like, all right, well, I hope can both get hot tonight. Because if they both get hot, it's good. But if one of them sucks, it's not only like they suck on one end only and they make it up on the defensive side, they are trash on both sides.
I think though, like I think roster construction is probably the biggest issue with this team. But like looking at D'Lo individually, he really sucks the life out of a lot of things they can do.
Offense
Because he gets
mostly.
paid so much. He's a really ISO heavy. He has some nasty passes, but um, I think his career has been a little stunted because LA shipped him for really no reason, and then
He's a rat.
the Nets shipped him, and now the Warriors have shipped him, and now I just think like it's his fourth team in 4 years, 5 years, and he's just like, I'm just gonna play out my contract, and like I'm going
Yeah.
to go to work. I don't really have any motivation because I don't have any loyalties. Like, who
No.
does D'Lo? What does D'Lo have to play for? You know, and this is
One
definitely not
thing.
him.
One thing.
It's
The ice in his veins. That's what.
like he doesn't have a purpose. He got traded to one of the worst teams in the league, the worst team in the league right now. And it's like, okay, well, let me put up my numbers. They can be kind of inefficient. We're gonna lose three-fourths of our games. I don't really know why I have to do anything other than just show up to work because my money's guaranteed and everything. Like, I don't know. Why does D'Lo really have to play? Like, it kind of sucks.
I think D'Lo is just a glorified Lou Williams.
I think he's Kyrie light.
I think it's Kyrie. I think Kyrie Light
Kyrie
sounds
light.
pretty
Lou
good. I
Williams
think
is a little bit of an insult to my man. My
it's
I
one
mean,
true
but
love.
if you think about it though, Lou Williams not good on defense, good score, can get buckets. D'Lo, same exact thing. And not only that, it's pretty much like when either Lou Williams or D'Lo is on the floor, you know it's gonna be like his way or the highway kind of thing. Where like if he gets the ball, you know he's gonna like try to cross somebody over and then shoot and stuff like it's not like nothing is fluid with either of them.
I think though D'Lo reminds me of when Kyrie was on the Celtics. Like, I mean, Kyrie wanted out, and in the end, he didn't really understand the Celtics culture and everything. He was just questioning Brad Stevens with everything he could. But that's kind of how it feels. Like neither of them really want to be in that situation. I think D'Lo just he's comfortable being there. I don't think he has any sort of
It's
drive.
comfortable as like 35 million a year.
Yeah, he's just comfortable
Be
playing
very
COD
comfortable.
after he goes home after work and he plays COD. Like,
Him
oh, I went to work, I scored 20 buckets, 10 were in garbage time. I went home, I played some COD. Like,
but
I
isn't
think it
that the
kind of
same
sucks,
thing
and
with
that's why they have
Towns?
to.
Yeah.
I mean, but Towns is doing what he's doing on like a significantly higher level. I think that's the thing. Like D'Lo can go and be average, and that's fine. But like Cat has been always playing above. I don't know. Cat has a different standard. I feel like he was always the number one pick, and I think up until this year, people were saying like Cat would always go number one in a redraft. And I don't think he'd go number one anymore. Um, I think
Well,
I think you'd firmly pick probably Booker over Cat at this point. And then at least 2 years ago, people were comparing Porzingis. It was would you rather take Porzingis? Probably that year he blew up on the Knicks. Who were like I think I'd rather take him because of defense. Um,
definitely not anymore.
I don't think in this season. I mean, he's not playing 100% because of his mom and everything. But I think
I,
he's going down that totem pole. I guess they need to build a team around. Like this is the
yeah,
thing. Like and this may just be a wash year, so you're gonna have to go into the off season thinking, okay, we only have just imagine we only have 3 more years of Cat. Like we have to do everything we can, and they haven't done really anything to this point. I guess the Jimmy Butler thing, but even then, it just wasn't.
Yeah, but
it's
Personality fit.
they were like a 3 seed, I remember, before Jimmy Butler got hurt. And then Jimmy Butler got hurt, and then
yeah, it
that's
was
it. And I mean,
All-Star
like,
break.
yeah,
But I mean,
if
like, it
you're
was a
second,
personality didn't fit. Like,
well,
Jimmy,
because I think Cat and D'Lo both don't have like that killer like I want to go and win no matter what. I feel like they're like you put it perfectly where they kind of just want to go, they do their job, they get paid a shit ton, and they go home. Like they don't have.
I'm
I
gonna
feel like
say
they don't have it.
I'm gonna say 99% of the league doesn't have that. Like, I don't think there's a lot of players who have that anymore. I think the league's gotten to this bubble with the money where it's like I could go play football for 2 years, maybe three, and I might get like 6 concussions, and I'll just be like make $2 million. I could go play in the NBA. Look at Anthony Edwards. He gets drafted number 1. He gets $10 million like that. He pretty much $40 million almost if he just plays basketball. I just they almost need like I want to say something like Popovich. They need someone like a coach they love, and I think that's what like they're trying to do with Ryan Saunders and like kind of get them together. But it does come down to why are we signing? They signed Malik Beasley and then they trade for D'Angelo, or was it like D'Angelo trade first and then Malik Beasley signing,
right?
and then you
Mhm.
trade for Ricky Rubio, and then you draft Anthony Edwards. So now we have 4 guards. Where are
Well,
we putting them?
And Culver is plays the best basketball when he has the ball in his hands.
And
Like that whole run in college and everything, he was like quote unquote the small forward, but that was only because of his size.
yeah,
It was because he would bring the ball up every single game
he
and
can't stretch the
initiate the
floor.
offense.
He
Yeah,
can't stretch. He can't shoot
yeah.
threes.
Okay, so posing a question definitively, who's more at fault for the lack of success with the Wolves past, let's say, year and a half? Is it the players not performing up to the level, or is it GM, front office, ownership not providing a good enough team for them to want to compete? Because I think it's a two-way road.
I think it's
I
fifty
think
fifty.
I think it's a bit I want to hedge even towards like ownership too. Like I don't think they put the players together that will actually perform well. I think they could have done something like it kind of just feels like I went into 2K and I said, "How can I fix the Wolves?" And I just started doing like
Oh, I
request
love.
trades all over the place. And then it came to like the next screen where they're like, "Oh, Malik Beasley wants to shoot more." And then you you
And
have
you're just
to
like, damn
give
it.
Malik Beasley more and it's like you have to balance the drama. That's kind of what I feel like is they screwed up is they didn't mesh personalities and personnel very well. And now a bunch of young kids are standing in a room being like, "We know this isn't going to work, so like, why would I play hard?"
I
I think it's yeah, I'm hedging towards ownership being the primary issue.
I mean, it's crazy because like I went into this like let's rebuild around Cat because like at some point you need this team to win because you need to sell tickets. You need to like keep the franchise there because one day some billionaire is gonna come through and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna take us to Seattle," because at least that makes sense why we're in the Western Conference. Other than if they do expansion teams, it's all right. Here, let's do a little exercise. What is the perfect 4 other players to play with Cat? And you still got to keep. We'll say like we'll keep D'Lo because he makes too much money. It'd be hard to trade him.
Um,
Like, what would
like
you? Are you putting Cat at the 5? I'll let you go off with this.
um, like it would never happen. But well, so the 2 players that come to my mind instantly is Giannis and Sabonis
Play
because
next to Cat. Wow.
yeah,
Okay.
because it could be like so you have Giannis who will go and like pretty much like Cat turns into Brooke Lopez. See, the only problem though is Cat doesn't have the defense like Brooke Lopez does, but he does have the ability to stretch the floor even better than Brooke Lopez. And then kind of the same thing with Sabonis, where Sabonis lives in the paint and like kills it in the paint, and then you have Cat to spread the floor. Like I think you need to go and like almost have like a two-headed like twin towers almost, where it's like, all right, Cat, you want to shoot 8 threes a game? You can do that, we need to put somebody who can like live in the paint offensively and then also help on defense for your lackluster, because I think that's the best way that you can maximize Cat.
I never thought about Sabonis. I felt like that would be weird because I'm still not in love with how Sabonis is stuck with Miles Turner. I still think that's kind of weird. It's nice that they're making it work, but it still feels weird having those two type of guys near each other. I think like
From the man who wanted to trade
no, I get
Turner
it.
for
No,
Porzingis last week.
I'm still on board. I just still think it's weird because not many. I can't think of any teams that are doing this. Like the Pacers are unique, in that they're still running like two traditional bigs kind of next to each other. Like
I mean, the
Sabonis is
Bucks kind of do
versatile.
it because like Giannis could easily be a center. I mean, he plays the best
He
in the
should be a
paint.
center.
Yeah, but I mean, he
He's tall
starts every
enough. Like,
possession at the top of the key, right? Like they dribble the ball up,
Shouldn't.
and Giannis is just standing at the top of the three like every other possession. I feel like I don't know. I think I'd rather see Cat thrive on a team like the Nuggets last year, right? Like that, the only way I see him being super successful is if he has a bunch of like stringy stretch fours, right? So you had kind of Grant, and you had a nice backup big in Plumlee, and then you had um, Paul Millsap as like a veteran big next to him. I don't know. I just feel like you need like a stringy core of people to complement, like what you said, his like defensive liabilities. You need a guy that can be like,
The wings to
Cat's
stop
getting
it.
exhausted. We need to switch him off, right? Like I feel like the Nuggets did that really well with Jokic, covering all of Jokic's kind of defensive flaws. And I think maybe more like a team like that. Of course, if you throw any team in the Nuggets, they're gonna probably do any player on the Nuggets. They're probably gonna be successful. But I think if you swapped Cat and Jokic, I think he'd thrive in that sort
I
of
hate
system.
you. I just want you to know I hate you. Because that was literally where I was leading into with like Paul Millsap next to him. So I was going like, all right, we're throwing Cat to the 5, but we're gonna make it so freaking impossible to get people in on him. So it'd be like a Paul Millsap. You may even have like Culver at 4. It like might get a little tight, but we'd still have
Yeah.
D'Lo. He'd be our liability as well. But then you'd have Rubio, who's a bigger size. So like D'Lo's just gonna switch over on the smaller guard, and you're gonna do almost kind of like what the Sixers have, where they have so many big guys, but then they just have Seth Curry out there who's like scrappy. And I think like when D'Lo's loving basketball, it's the same thing with Kyrie. This is why I just put them together. But Kyrie is obviously a better version. Is like when they're loving their life, they are so freaking happy. They love playing basketball, but the minute they're unhappy, it's just like there's no lights on. There's just like, all right, cool, I'm done. Like I'm gonna run the same play 6 times in a row, and if I hit 2 of them, like cool, that was fun for me. I did watch that in the Wolves game like a month ago. It was like top of the post, just 6 8 times by D'Lo. He hit like 4 of the shots, so it was like he's clutch. I mean, the dream scenario with him having like a Ben Simmons type, and the guy like, or even like a Luca who's like dominant, and then like when Luca's getting a little tired, it's like, all right, here's D'Lo. Like I was saying to Dave earlier, it was like you almost need D'Lo to be like the third guy, but your second guy is like almost like an Aiton, who's this really good like big man who you don't really need to feed the ball, but he's gonna do everything else. I keep wanting to fix this team because I was Lucas and I were high. I had to look. We were both picked the over for this team. I'm gonna tell you, it's not gonna hit.
did I pick the under?
You did because you don't
Hey,
like fun.
because I don't like cats. That's what it comes down to. Sorry, cat.
You have two cats.
Yeah.
My
What
God.
do you mean? I have a dog. I have the least cats here, and I love cat the most. God. I mean, I guess it's one of those things. Now, let's take a vote. I guess kind of like raise your hand, or say like yeah, like go for it. Go for it with Cat and like D'Lo and Anthony Edwards, or kind of move one of the pieces and go for like playoffs in the next year or so. Who's in on it?
I am not. I don't. I honestly don't think there's anything you can do with a duo of D'Lo and Cat that would make it to the playoffs.
You could move Anthony Edwards.
I think that you need to scrape away all of the, like, you rolled the dice on Malik Beasley, you rolled the dice on D'Lo. I think you got to not have like a sunk cost fallacy going on. You got to get rid of them because
Yeah.
their personalities aren't good. And I think holding on to a guy and then paying him when he got those like criminal charges to him, that's like kind of like a red flag. That's one of those things where you cut that dude and then you let another team take him and be like, "Oh, we love a redemption story." You know, you kind of let somebody else take the brunt of that PR madness.
Yeah.
I don't think D'Lo, I don't think that's a good combo, but I really like the other young guys. It's like they need to take the 50 million that they just committed to these two poor defensive guards and actually fill a team around Cat. That's what they should have done, but they didn't. And I don't know if they're going to get a I don't know. They're not going to get a reverse card or a mulligan on that one. They really screwed up there. So yeah, I would blow it up. Except I'd probably keep Cat. Trading Cat would be my last resort.
I had to look back at that trade. Holy freaking crap. The Malik Beasley one? That
I mean,
wasn't.
they got it for free basically, right?
Yeah.
Like it was
Well,
nothing.
it was part of the Clint Capella Covington trade. So it was just like, yeah, they got Malik Beasley, Hernan Gomez, and ended up getting Evan Turner and like a pick. I'm in the blow it up stage for sure. I just don't. It sucks but I don't even think. My problem is I don't even think Anthony Edwards is like a shoe-in fix. Like I still want to keep it with Towns. Like I don't. Yeah, he's a cool little player, but where in 6 years am I gonna see a guy who wants to win basketball games? I'm not. I'm not gonna get that from him. So then I gotta put him with.
I
I'm
think
gonna.
that's almost overblown though.
But is
The whole
it?
Anthony Edwards thing. I think it is because I think like how you were saying before, like how 99%. I think a lot of players feel that way, and he kind of seems like one of those guys who's just like, "Fuck it, I don't care what I say." And
But
he's
but you know what
all
that
his
reminds
interviews
me
and
of?
stuff are hilarious.
You know who that reminds me of? Kyrie freaking Irving. That reminds me of all these players who don't care, and they're
Yeah, he's
not.
crazy though.
But why is Anthony Edwards fine? Because he just goes, I don't care. I can say what I want. You know what I want? I want a player to be like, I want to win. You know who I want? I want freaking Devin Booker, who talks to himself in the game. I want that kind of player. I want like a LeBron. I want someone who's gonna control these, like, be like for the first overall pick. I don't want someone who tells first thing they say is like, I don't really care about basketball. I don't want that. I don't
It's a red
care.
flag.
That's a red flag. I'm out. I would have been out. I would have traded the pick. I don't care. Send it away. I don't want. That's just like.
But then I don't like. But then that sucks because like, what's the old story? The Suns didn't draft Kawhi because he had sweaty palms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like
Yeah, but he was like
I
the
don't know.
16th pick. That's like, you're getting a
Yeah.
little picky there. I mean, Kawhi is freaking nature. He got, he landed lucky. Could have been
He
a
should
different
be.
story.
Should be the MVP this year.
He definitely shouldn't be.
He should be.
How should? All right, we're gonna lead it. Good lead there, Dave.
Mhm.
Anything else you guys want to talk about the Timberwolves? Because I just feel like I just circled 5 times because I don't know what to do with this team.
No, I think we nailed it. They're screwed.
They're screwed. Yeah, we literally got to the point where we go, yeah, we can't fix them. I couldn't think of trades. I could think of trades, and it
I
was
just
like
wouldn't want to pull the trigger because I feel like every single like avenue, like you make a
sucks.
decision tree for everything that could happen, almost like the odds of it going bad in every direction. That's all I see. Is just like,
I
they're just incompetent.
I
So
think
you're just
Dave put it
asking competent
perfectly.
people to do smart decisions.
You couldn't do a single thing to get them to be a championship team in the next 3 years. If they did it, anyone who listens to this podcast, I'll send you $100 if the Wolves win a championship in 3 years. Make sure you tweet at us. Twitter is going to be right here. All right. MVP talk. Are we too hyped for this MVP this year? We're a third of the way through the season. And, I mean, yes, I gamble a little bit on the MVP, so I've been talking about Jokic. But I know they're not the best team. Dave, you just made a case for Kawhi as MVP.
Because
His
wins
stats are
matter.
down. His
Wins matter.
I will say that. I will agree with you because when they don't have
So
Kawhi, they lose by 50 freaking points.
exactly.
And one player can't make 50 freaking points matter in a game. Oh,
But so I am very, very much in the camp of you cannot be like Russell Westbrook was like the biggest like albatross like MVP ever.
shouldn't
Like
have been it.
he what?
He shouldn't have been it.
Y'all are
No, he
trash.
should not have been.
Y'all are trash.
No.
I,
Like
continue.
you cannot go and not even have home court advantage in the playoffs and be like, yep, that's the MVP. Like you have to win games. Like it's not like, oh, he put up the best stat line. It's winning games is also part of MVP. You're the most valuable player. Like if you were to take Westbrook that year and put him on any other team, nothing really would have changed that much. But you take like since
I'll
it's the
argue
GOAT's
that.
birthday today, you take Michael Jordan and you put him on any other team, y- they're amazing. Like that's what MVPs do. They don't go and be like, "Oh, well, you add them to this team and they're fine." Like Jokic, like I know you love Jokic. Like the love for Jokic is just. I'm afraid you might go and travel to Denver and just stalk him at this point.
I've
But
the one the one Colorado Avalanche game I've ever been to, Jokic was there sitting front ice. So
Coincidence?
coincidence? I don't know. Continue back.
if if the Nuggets start winning, he should be the MVP. But until then, though, I cannot be like, oh yeah, he's the MVP as they're the 7th seed.
This is my flaw in all of this plan. Is the fact that everyone's so tight in the West still, right now. So it feels like, all right, cool. The Nuggets are a 7th seed, but they win one game. They're like the 4 seed. Like 1.5
Yeah.
games, they're 4 seed. So it's like, I mean, cool. The Clippers are 21-8, but you have freaking Paul George. It's kind of the argument I have against LeBron because this is just another LeBron season. But this is the couple weeks like span where he doesn't have AD. Like if he rips off like 6 games, he's also played every game. Unlike Kawhi. But and they have a better record. That's fine. Just kidding.
That's a better. No, I don't want to go into it.
But Kawhi's stats are just down. Like he's not playing better than he did last year.
He's so good though.
He is really
He should-
good.
So I guess that what it comes down to also is like he should have. It's crazy to me that he doesn't have an MVP.
It's not crazy to me.
It doesn't.
There's not been one season that Kawhi's been the best player in the league during the regular season.
Kawhi?
When did Russell Westbrook win the MVP?
I remember. I
26
remember this. I remember us arguing about this at the time, but it was.
It was
I
Harden
think
had
it
to be
was more
too,
of like
right?
it was a hipster pick because it was always Westbrook and Harden, and then we were like, "Screw them! They both are just going for stats. We want Kawhi because what he was killing on the Spurs,
Yes.
but he was third. He was clearly third. The voters had him third.
This is
Wasn't
the
it-
Landry
it's like that-
Fields third and rookie of the year. He got one vote kind of take right there.
It's like when
Well, you know who
Shaq
the one
took
vote
his-
was for Kawhi
his
then? If it's just
MVP
one
this month.
vote, Zach motherfucking Lowe.
Yeah, I'm telling you.
He
what,
also
man.
agrees with me that it should be Kawhi.
Hold on.
Well-
Hold on. Oh, hold on. I just got a call. Oh, it's Mark Cuban. Zach Lowe doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Thank you. Yeah, you liked that segment right there, didn't you? Yeah.
But-
I mean, everything's down. They're definitely playing, I guess, better than they did last year. But I don't even know if I think that. I just think they've been like, I think they're a good team because they have Paul George, who's playing awesome this year. Like they're both playing good. It's like
Keep
this,
saying Paul George, but I mean Kawhi Leonard's by far the best player on that team.
but it's the same thing with the LeBron debate. Like, how can you sit
Yes.
there and say like LeBron should win the MVP when he has Anthony Davis? The problem is Anthony Davis kind of sucks this year. But we're not going to get into that. We're going to get into the one player who's just being spoon-fed the MVP right now. It's freaking Embiid.
He really has been. I've watched way too many Philly games. I've been watching way too many Philly games. Nothing what he does makes me feel like you have this MVP feeling going into some of these seasons. Like the Curry year. He didn't even have to drop a ton, like a bajillion points, right?
He said
But
do what
it
he's
was
doing now.
MVP Curry. Last like every year, I guess not every year of Giannis. Last year
The
was
first
like
Giannis year was like
the first Giannis year was nuts.
last year. I
I
mean,
just don't
someone to
feel like
predict it.
okay, the Westbrook MVP year. There were so many MVP moments. That's what made him the MVP over Harden. Was him
So
not
averaging almost 30 and 10 and being the number 1 seed in the East is an MVP moment.
Only if you look at his
that's
highlights.
putting zero context.
Look at his highlights,
Like,
Dave. You won't see the 15 free throws a game because they don't want. Those aren't highlights. Those are. It's James Harden-esque. I'm sick of it.
but like, what has he done that's like that separates himself from the rest, right? Like he's not beating good teams. He's not beating the best teams. He's not. There's no miraculous. There's no comebacks in which Embiid has had to carry the team. He's just kind of clucking through, beating the Magic and the Hornets every other night, right? Like he's just beating up the bad East, and then once he plays the West or once they go on the road, he just loses. And it's like
See, but that's
he
what good teams
hasn't.
like. Good teams should do that because I can't remember what year it was, but it was that it was something. It was a year with the Spurs, like during their super run with Kawhi and Tim Duncan, like the later years of Tim Duncan, where it was like they just they kill bad teams, and that's what good teams and good players are supposed to do is kill bad teams. So it's not his fault if he's playing bad teams. You play who's on
I
your schedule.
I
I
get that,
cannot believe I'm
but he's not
I
beating
gotta
the good
interrupt.
teams. It's the difference. He can be good. He can be a they can be a good team. They're not a great team. Embiid doesn't make them a great team. You have to be able to beat the good competition on top of the bad. And right now they're only beating the bad. I mean, you can't I mean, right now the Sixers would be what? I'm pretty sure the Sixers would be like fourth in the West. Like
You can't use that argument though because that's the argument that every single year, like none of LeBron's MVPs then should count that because oh well, if he was in the West, like that's been the argument for how
okay,
many
but
years about that.
what team has he beaten this year that's been impressive? Like what's his impressive game that he had to carry them against like elite competition? Cuz like I'm looking at every game and I'm like, all right, well they just got blasted by the Jazz. They just lost the Suns. They just lost to the Blazers. They just lost the Blazers again. And
What
like
about
they're
they
beating the
when they beat
Hornets.
the when they beat the Lakers and he had 28 what was it
It was a good game until they
28 and
blew the
6.
14 point lead to end the game.
Yeah,
But
but
like
every
all of
single
their
team
wins.
though, like every game is like that though where people blow huge leads. Like
I think but that's it. Like okay, so they beat the Lakers by 1. That's like that's their one game so far that they've had quality competition and they haven't beaten them
what
except for
about
that one game.
42 and 10 against the Celtics when they beat them by 8?
The Celtics are nothing. They just lost the Hawks tonight.
The
They're
Celtics are nothing?
I mean,
they're not they're not very
this
good.
year I do
They're
have to
under
agree. I think the
500.
Celtics are like the
What the Celtics are like
fifth
13
team,
and 15 right
fifth or
now.
sixth
They're
team
not even
in the
they're
East
not even
now.
a 500 team.
Dave's about to have an aneurysm. I can
Look,
just see
they're
it in
okay.
his
I
So
face.
might.
they're
I cannot believe that this is the
This, I
they're
mean,
fifth.
so
they're 14 and 14, but their team is not like clicking at all. I really do like. I mean, looking at the Celtics, I'm more scared of the Sixers, the Nets, the Bucks.
oh, I'm not scared of the Nets at all.
I don't think I'd
I'm
be scared of a single team in the East. Like
terrified of the Nets. Terrified in a 7-game series. I don't want to go against them. I thought about the other day. I was like, who do I want to see the Lakers play in the finals? I'd love to see Giannis. I would love to see. I don't know if I'd love to see. I'd love to see the
They match
Celtics.
up. The Sixers match up the best with the Lakers.
Yeah, I know, but I just want LeBron to destroy Embiid, so that's why I would love it. Because
well, I feel like the Nets are the
he probably fell
scariest
out.
because in any given night they can hit 23s. Like that's it.
The
They can
Nets,
hit 23s, and that's
And
how they
also
win.
the Nets,
have the worst defense known to mankind.
Yeah, but
I don't know if any defense matters if you hit 23s.
I think
Like,
the thing that scares me the most with the Nets is in the closing moments of a game and Harden's dribbling the ball, and then on your right there's freaking Kevin Durant, and on your left there's Kyrie Irving. And if the game is close, all you have to do is get to that last minute. I don't think there's like, I don't trust most. I mean, the Lakers would match up well, but I would be terrified. I'm terrified of the Nets. Do I think we'd win?
Capital F.
Yes.
Fraud.
I mean, no.
Oh,
But like,
I will keep beating that drum just like I beat the
Dave,
drum with the Nuggets.
Dave, we were talking about your team last week, and your game back of the Celtics. One game.
Also, do we not count the COVID issues that they had with Tatum, Brown, all being out for COVID? Like,
But I think the biggest red flag is the Kemba issue. I think that's why I don't count them as like, yes, Tatum and Brown are good. They're fucking awesome. But the problem is they have Kemba, who we don't know if he's gonna be able to play minutes, and then their big man rotation, which has always been the issue they've just patched together. Like, it's my issue I had with them last year. I think last year they had more cohesion because they had like Hayward. They had like 4 really good players.
too bad they couldn't get Miles Turner. Oh,
I mean, it sucks. We'll get into that later. Well, I'm going back to Philly. What pisses me off about Philly, and it's the difference I have with Philly that I have with, like, I have the inverse problem with the Lakers. Philly only wins at home. They suck away from home, which is good because they need to beat up on these teams to stay in the number 1 seed. Because if they lose home court, they're out. They're done. I don't care. I do like their team. It's not that I hate them. Embiid just annoys me.
they just haven't been able to solve the biggest issue that they've had since getting Embiid and Simmons together. They still they actually tried to solve that with Jimmy and they lost him, but they still don't have a guy to close out games and they're relying on Steph Curry to be the man. Like
Yeah.
they don't win these close games like that because they don't have a guy to close out the game. Like I don't know, Embiid hasn't been the dude to get him a bucket in the last 30 seconds. He just hasn't been that guy. And like tonight, even looking at the box score tonight, like they beat they beat the Rockets by 5, and the Rockets still don't have they
Wait,
don't have
they only won by
they won
5?
by 5. Yeah, they and the
I
Rockets
hate
don't
them.
have Oladipo and they don't have Wood, and it's like so. All right, that's another win. They beat a bad team, but it's like you just kind of marginally beat them.
I
Like
mean,
like this these
But
kind
they
of
still
wins
won,
have to be
though.
20-point win. Yeah, but that's like that. But it's like what is it?
I definitely
But
agree
we
with
talk.
Dave in that fact is like you need like winning these games are great. Like it is a good thing
They're
because
important.
I'm looking at the Nuggets right now, and I was gonna interrupt you guys earlier, but I just can't face the fact that Jokic is not going to be MVP because they're getting destroyed by Bertans, my 6th man of the year candidate, who is 9 for 11 from 3 right now, just torching them.
Making that.
But yeah, I 100% agree. You need to win these games against the bad teams. Oh, okay, they're only up 3, but it's I need a couple good wins. You know, it's like the wins that like make me feel good. Like I want to see him drop like a 45 bomb on like. Think about how Jokic did that to Gobert a couple weeks ago. Jokic
He needs those
torched.
moments.
I want one of those, and then I'm like, okay. Like I was so excited to watch that game the other night, and then Embiid had back tension or something, back spasm, so he didn't play. But like I was incredibly hyped seeing Embiid versus Gobert because I was like got home from work, I got off early, and I was laid in bed because I was hungover and I was ready to go. And then I'm like about 2 minutes in the game, I'm like, why haven't I seen Embiid yet? Because and I had to pull up my phone, obviously playing, but
All right, so what about this? In 2 weeks, Embiid has an MVP moment, right? They play Utah. It's the last game before the new schedule comes out for the second half of the year. Embiid has to win that game. Like you have to have like MVP moments during a season, like memorable moments. I feel like this is one where it's like I need to dad dick Gobert. Like he needs to tear Gobert apart. He needs to have a moment, right? Like he doesn't need to beat these good teams. I don't know. Maybe the Dallas game could be one too. Him versus Porzingis, he needs to dominate. It's like you have to dominate. I don't think he's dominating good teams. That's
I,
just my biggest
I think
issue.
I think I want to clarify. I am terrified of the starting five of the Sixers. Like in a
I'm
playoff
not.
game, I am still terrified because of my
But you also
defensive
think
player
Ben
of the year
Simmons
pick.
sucks.
I don't think he sucks. I think his defense is negligible because opposing teams' perimeter players are still destroying.
Hmm.
What's the point of saying I'm the best perimeter defender and Lillard is still dropping 30 on me? Well, it
Well, he
doesn't
didn't.
matter.
But
He didn't. He
We
it's
didn't. He didn't. He didn't.
he didn't, because it's not it you don't have it's not like how it used to be with teams playing defense, where it's like, all right, Tony Allen, you're the best defender, you go guard Kobe all game, don't leave Kobe's side. E- everything is switched now. So how, and he's big enough where he plays defense on 1 through 5 too. So he switches every single thing. So regard if someone drops 38 points, okay, but how many times was Ben Simmons actually guarding that player when he scored? Or did they go and have Lillard go and do
Lillard
a
scored 10.
a pick, and then Simmons switches off, and then Lillard hits a three?
Okay, so my issue isn't that he isn't a good defender. My point is that how
Defensive.
important and why is it so stated so often? Like, he's the best perimeter defender. He keeps saying it after every single game. Well, every single game so far, you're giving up 120 points. If you're going to boast about how good your defense is, you can't allow the other team to just run the court on you. And they're supposed to be a defensive team. You have Embiid, you have Thibault, you have Danny
I
Green,
mean,
you have Simmons. Your entire team is basically defense, other than some G League point guards and then Tobias Harris, who isn't like a scrub, but you're still allowing so many points. So what's the point of boasting about your defense if you're not actually stopping the other team from scoring?
I think what it
It's
was
like
is
calling yourself a scorer and then only shooting like 30% and having, it'd be like a really inefficient Levine or D'Lo being like, I'm the best scorer in the league. It's like, sure,
Allen
you put up
Iverson.
25. I'll put up 25 on 40% shooting, but I'm not really winning the games. I'm really inefficient from shooting. Like, they're still allowing
Lucas has
points.
been out of town for a couple days. You know, he's been watching games from his phone. No, I'm just kidding. I think what it was for me is the Jazz game the other night was kind of the game I was expecting to see out of Embiid, but I got it out of Simmons. It was this attack the rim, attack Gobert, go, like post up, like they need a bucket. Simmons was in the game, and like he dropped 42. He dropped his career high. Like I didn't think I would ever see Simmons score 40 points. I really didn't. I was like, cool, he's gonna get 25, maybe 30 on a really good night. But he played like this is kind of like the almost the moment the Rockets probably watched it and they go, fuck, we could have had this guy, but we're stuck with John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, and we're gonna lose All Depot. I want to see more of that Simmons because I do agree with what you say. Is like the team defense is almost like negligible because teams are just pushing. Like, yes, Simmons guarded Lillard. He's like shot 9 times, which is like I think that's kind of a good thing. Is like the 8 minutes he played off him, but 3 for 4 from 3. But it kind of got back to what I was saying earlier as I was going through these stats. I'm like, they're not fouling these shooters that often, and which is good. Like I'd rather him Lillard take a 3, make it, than Lillard take a 3, you foul him. Like Lillard's still a 92% free throw shooter. That's fine. Take the 3, don't foul him because that just screws everything up. You're gonna be out of the game. It it kind of gets back to my 3-point defense. It gets back to what we keep talking about. Is the 3-pointers too easy now? It's too easy to foul a 3-point shooter. Everything's a freaking foul. You touch the guy on the side. You move out of his way. The guy's gonna kick out. They defend the shooter, but it has to be some sort of like Jamal Crawford's got what 45, 46 4-point plays in his career, and it's all because of kicking his leg out and all because of trying to land on the guy. Like I've seen so many fouls recently on 3-point shooters that are just like,
That one Luca one where they were highlighting it, he literally like he leans so far forward, it looks ridiculous.
But that's all. That's what everyone's doing. And I'd rather the guy not foul, get 3 for 4 from three on a guy, but it doesn't mean he wasn't like. I mean, Dame's a baller and he's getting all these points. I just it's just hard for
it's
me to go ahead. Dave.
oh, I was just gonna make a jab at LeBron because it's flopping.
Oh,
Okay, so I
yeah.
guess just to round out the last point I have, and then I can stop my rants.
Yeah, it's
It's
been a long time on Simmons.
it's just him labeling himself the best. I have money on him winning Defensive Player of the
I
Year.
know, that's why I'm
But
like, why are you not in?
because it's just labeling yourself as the best. It's like when LeBron labeled himself the king, gave him the tattoo, and then forever it was, well, I'm going to criticize him because now you're saying you're the best, right? You're the king, and now you have to be held to that standard. If Simmons
Right.
is going to call him the best, well, defense, you have to, right now it's team defense, right? So if the team is giving up a lot of points and you're boasting about defense, you're not doing a good job, because if you're the defensive leader, you're the guy. Your team isn't clearly doing it. They're okay, so they're sixth best defensive rating. That's not the best. It's sixth best. All right. They're giving up the 12th most points in the league. That's not even
Wait,
close to best.
who's number
It's
one?
Oh, I can't.
the
Oh, the
the
Knicks.
Lakers. The
Oh,
Lakers are one,
yeah, Dave,
Jazz are
not the
two, then
Knicks.
Knicks.
Oh, I have
But
stats too. I can't wait for Lucas to end this because
that's my point. Even the screenshot or the link you sent, you pulled up the guys that Sims has guarded most of the year. Six of those guys torched the fuck out of him. It wasn't even close. Like they shot over 50%, and he just lit them up. And it's almost like, my point is, he's not the best. The Sixers aren't the best on D, even though that's how they're supposed to be constructed.
Yeah,
And the money that they paid for him, they could easily swap, or should have swapped, for somebody else, because the
James
overall
Harden.
defensive impact isn't as important,
James
because
Harden.
it clearly isn't.
James Harden.
Harden, Beal,
Harden.
any of those guys clearly would have
Eh,
been a better swap.
I don't know about Beal.
Beal would have been beautiful on this team. Just freaking perfect.
I take Harden. I take Harden.
Okay, well,
can I go
if
now?
the choice is Harden or Beal,
Like,
fine.
I'm
But
gonna be
I'm saying,
prissy.
if you're giving up Simmons for a guy that actually makes this team better, I think you'd go Beal.
Dave, I feel like
So
you're ramped up. I'm gonna let you go, okay?
the 76ers are ninth in pace of game. So if you're going and going that fast and everything, of course it's going to be more high scoring. That's just the way it works. And they are sixth in field goal percent allowed, which
Okay.
is the big one. Because if you're going and if you're that high in pace and then you're only allowing that like low of a field goal percentage, that proves that you're a good defense. You're going and you're
Because they're
going
giving
and
up too many points to good teams. None of that matters. Then, so okay, so if they're the
so
fastest team, they're playing
so they
super
slow it
fast.
down then.
Then what's the answer? Because they're clearly not the best defensive team.
You know why
So
Lucas
what's
wants them
the
to
answer
slow
to
it
get them
down?
there?
Because of
They
the
are
Phoenix Suns.
they're
Slow it
not
down.
the
I don't give a shit. Like,
I don't I don't think they're the best defensive team either.
but
But
that's what they're labeling themselves as. That's
I
why it's
think Ben
frustrating.
Simmons is the best perimeter defender though. Who's a better perimeter defender?
I don't think it
God,
matters. That's what I'm
this made
saying.
me
It doesn't
so
matter.
happy for you to say
No,
that.
it does
I
matter.
just like jumped with pure
Why does it
joy.
matter? The best defensive player in the league,
It's
best
LeBron.
perimeter defensive player in the league, just got torched by Booker. Just got torched by, name the other six guys on that list. Like, he got torched. Like, I don't know what else there is. It doesn't
Lucas
matter
has
if the
one
guy's
winning
hot.
season and he's insufferable.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
It's just, I don't think it's as important, even though I want him to win it. Okay?
It is important.
It's not as important as often.
You know what? The league doesn't matter. Davis Bertans just dropped 35, 9 for 11 from three, 8 for 8 for free throw line. The league's over. Just turning off the pod now. Nothing makes sense. Murray
know
dropped
who I think
35. Jokic dropped 33. Don't care anymore. I guess.
so getting away from the 76ers and Lucas's hate towards Ben Simmons and me sticking up for Embiid, I feel like a player who is like sneakily going like into the like he's not in the talks for MVP, but is who I said at the beginning of the year,
Game.
Dame Lillard. all of a sudden he has his team fourth, fourth in the West, and if going by Lucas's logic, that would be first in the East.
It would be. That's how bad the Sixers are.
He has, of course, he has of course.
I'm done. I'm done.
He has of course gone, and the Blazers have horrible injury luck like they always do. So he doesn't have CJ, doesn't have Nurkic, and he's putting up 29 points, 38% from three, and he's just winning.
You know that's actually a very good point, Dave, because you know who they beat by himself? The 76ers.
Wasn't Enos Cancer guarding Embiid?
I think so.
I mean, Embiid dropped 35-9 on Enes Kanter.
So I think this started though by saying like, is somebody outside the top 4 teams going to win MVP this year? Because it does feel like there are guys outside of the top 4 teams that, or the top 2 in each conference, that are performing well. Like Lillard looks like he's killing it. Jokic looks like he's killing it, but like they're slipping. Nuggets are slipping too far. Like I don't even know if you can make an argument for Jokic right now.
Oh, not right now. No,
I feel like it's only one player. I feel like
Curry,
it's Jokic.
like
No.
Curry's killing it. Jokic's killing it. Lillard,
well, you
these
can't
guys
say
are playing better.
You can't say no to Curry and then and then like, oh, I can see
Clippers.
Jokic. You can't do it.
Yeah, no, I understand that and stuff because they're literally just one, like they're what? How many games?
They're the same right now
first-
because they just lost to the Wizards.
So I understand that and stuff, and Curry is like putting up his MVP stats and everything. But I really think that it should be a top 3 seed.
Do you think it should be a prerequisite? That's what I wanted to pose the question as. Do you think it should be mandatory,
No,
or do you think it should always be up, kind of left up in the air,
I'd
even though it kind of is like what are they in like baseball?
No.
You have like secret rules or
okay.
unspoken rules?
Okay, so
spoken rules?
here's my argument. Donovan Mitchell. If you took him off the Jazz and you put, say, like CJ McCollum, are the Jazz not 23-5?
I think they'd be the same.
I guess more impact would be Rudy Gobert, I guess, but he wouldn't get the votes?
No.
Now, take Jokic off the Nuggets. Take Curry off the Warriors. Take Dame off the Trailblazers. I think we're too strict. I think if you took this guy, and I think it should be like, replace him with Jeff Teague, if it's like a point guard. Like, replace him with the most average guy in the league. Okay. Where would you see that team right now?
Okay, so how far does that go? Like, does it cut off at playoffs? Like, you're making the argument technically for Curry, right? Like, so it wouldn't be the Mavs. Like, if you took off Luka and put an average point guard there,
they had to be in the playoffs.
You have to be okay.
You have to be in the playoffs. You have to win games.
That's like the vagueness. Yeah.
This isn't baseball. We don't let Mike Trout just win it because like he's on a 70-win team. I think that's low in baseball.
And you have 90,000 advanced stats telling you that he's God's gift to mankind. But it's like, well, they don't win though.
I think you're gonna have a weird MVP this year. I guess is my overall point because I think the votes are gonna get split like crazy. And I don't think you can justify giving it to a guy not in the top 4 is my problem. Like, you don't have somebody else going berserk or breaking like NBA records, being like literally a once in a million season.
Obviously, this man doesn't watch the Lakers.
That's why they gave it to Westbrook, right? Was because it was weird. He had triple-double. Is triple-double arbitrary? Sure. But it was like...
Yes.
It is, but it's like he did something that no one else had ever done. So that put him on another
really
level,
cool, yeah.
Right? I don't think somebody else right now is doing something that nobody else has ever done, which puts them, which takes off the prerequisite of a top 4 seed sort of deal.
This is going to hurt me saying this.
I'm so ready.
I know what it is already. I know what it is.
Who I think is going to win the MVP is going to be LeBron.
There it is.
And God does it hurt. And I
I
will
will.
be the biggest Twitter troll being like, he doesn't deserve it. But
I'll
I think he's going to win this
I
year.
think so. The only way I can see that is this next 3 week span.
Mm-hmm. I
Brooklyn,
agree with that
Miami,
100%.
Washington, Utah, Portland, Golden State, Phoenix, and Sacramento. If he can go like 5-3 in that span without AD, because AD won't play those games. He's not playing until
Yep.
the All-Star break. You got the
Nope.
Achilles thing, like he's taking it off. If he can go like 5-3 and he just rips off like, I mean, you already go through he's the best player. We thought it was gonna be the other way. AD was gonna rock off. Like LeBron's gonna take his time, work into it. It's been the opposite. He's played every game.
Did you say rock off?
Yeah, I don't know. Like sock, I don't know.
It feels weird though because LeBron, again, it doesn't like. I feel like LeBron would win it by default. Like it feels like years of him not winning it. Here's like an IOU sort of MVP. He's playing really well, but like, what is it? Like 20? What is he doing? 26, 6 and 6
He's
or
doing
something?
almost LeBron.
Almost a little LeBron, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. And he's got like the narrative. He's 36,
I mean, it's
and
it's
they're
it's
they're the
26, 8,
top
and 8, but we can lower his stats a little bit.
26,
It's
8,
fine.
and 8.
It's fine.
26, 8, and 8. Like that's pretty incredible. But it also again like I don't. It just doesn't feel like. I feel like we've been spoiled with MVPs recently. Like Harden
I
seasons and
guess
Westbrook seasons and Giannis seasons. No one's dominating. No one's individually separating themselves from everyone else.
but it's
That's what it
because
feels like.
I think kind of what you wanted to get into next. Stats are so inflated now. Like they're like
Yeah.
assists are the easiest to get. Rebounds are the easiest to get. Points are so easy to get because no one is really playing defense in the regular season. And I think you look at it and you can only like LeBron's shooting almost his best percentage from three this year. He's
Mm-hmm.
shooting one of his best percentages from two this year, like from the field, and even like very close to his best free throw percentage, like top
Mm-hmm.
four season. The man's 36. I know it's annoying. 18th season, all that's annoying. I used to just diss on LeBron all the time. I won't deny it. But if he plays almost every game, it's got to get almost to that 2017 2018 Cavs point where he carried this like garbage team on his back. And this isn't a garbage team, but if they're like a top two seed in the West, and I don't think the Jazz have an MVP, they are just
No.
like the Hawks. The Hawks had a bunch of good players
Right. That's a good
that
comparison.
work together. They had like Al Horford was awesome. They had like 4 All-Stars in a year. They didn't like Kyle Korver was an All-Star.
Yeah, they
No,
really didn't deserve
I
a
forgot
lot.
about that.
yeah, it's horrible.
100%.
It's Jeff T, Kyle Korver, Al Horford, and like Paul Millsap, like all made All-Star game. Or no, Joe Johnson. It just seems like this year, like I do agree, it's gonna be someone weird, and the weirdness is gonna be it's LeBron on one of his worst statistical seasons.
If
Not
Giannis, if the Bucks get the second best record in the league, does Giannis win a third, or do you think that
So
voters
remember we did
gloss
no.
the
over it?
remember we did the stats or whatever. It was
No,
like
it's impossible. Like you
yeah,
have to be Larry Bird.
yeah. It's like Larry Bird. Was it Larry Bird, Will, and Bill? I don't know.
It
Oh, I
was
remember we
just
went through
yeah,
them all, but it's like impossible. Giannis has to go and like blow his other two seasons out of the water
yeah.
in order for that to happen. But yeah, I 100% agree. I think it's the Jazz are amazing as a group, but it's
Hmm.
not one player in
No.
particular. And I
I
could
wonder how
honestly
that will play in the playoffs. What do you like? Do you think this is gonna relay into the playoffs? Because isn't the biggest issue every year that Gobert gets run off the court in situations? Like I
but
don't
has
know
the
if they
NBA
fix
changed
that.
though?
Oh,
Because I mean, they were matched up against the Rockets. The Rockets
yeah,
were like their own weird animal. They're
right.
gone. The Warriors aren't the Warriors anymore. So like looking at like the West and stuff, like the Lakers, big men, Clippers, Blazers, like every single team that's in the playoffs right now have traditional big men.
So if it was playoffs today, Utah would play the Warriors in round one.
That would
What
be
do you
a
think that would
fun
end?
series to go and put money on the Warriors, just hoping that Gobert can't play. And
They run them off the court. I don't know.
yeah,
I think the Jazz would. I want to say the Jazz would cruise,
I think so
but
too, though.
I think it would be like 4-1
Mm-hmm.
Jazz. And then the next playoff series, because it goes what 2 and 3 play each other in the next in the semis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
They play
then
the winner of 4 and 5.
okay, so they would play either Portland or Phoenix. And I
That
honestly think
terrifies me.
that that would terrify me if I'm a Jazz fan, especially like I think if you played Phoenix, I think a Jazz fan would be like, all right, like this is a fair matchup for us. Like I don't think they would be terrified if they were playing like one of like a greatest team ever sort of deal, but I think they would be terrified if they had to play Portland. Like I don't think Jazz
If
fans want to see Damian Lillard ever again. Like
if
I
it
think they're
No.
over it.
if
Yeah.
if the CJ McCollum and Nurkic are back,
They both come back.
Mm-hmm.
I
that
don't know. I don't know what they do, and then I don't know. In the end, they would have to probably play one of the LA teams. But
I mean, I guess
I,
that's my thing with the MVP right now is I kind of circumvent it too much into the playoffs, and I kind of want like a playoff MVP, but we've talked about that before. But like, it's so hard to define because what are you looking for? Are you looking for offense or are you looking for defense? You just looking for a little bit of both? Because I feel like it's an offensive award now. I don't.
yeah, it's
I
yeah,
no one's won it defensively because they get defensive player of
well,
the year.
I guess Giannis kind of
But he
right.
wins both. He was the
He won both.
you have to be amazing. Like I think MVP's kind of gotten too offensive bound. And it's not
I
much
think there
about
was a
like
stretch where it was offensive bound, but I think like overall though, it's pretty much like overall play. I think. I think from like the first Steph MVP up until Harden winning it
Hmm.
was very offensively, but like Giannis is amazing on both sides. LeBron amazing on both sides. Kobe amazing on both sides. Steve Nash amazing on both sides, and then amazing on
what?
defense. But he was
No, cut that
no,
back.
okay.
Cut that back.
Let's take a brief step back.
Dirk
I would
wasn't
give you the
amazing
next
on
one.
both sides.
KG. Dirk Dirk was at least
PG.
like he was average on defense though. He wasn't
No.
horrible. Like Steph, Harden, and Westbrook are horrible on defense.
But Steph at least tries. I get you
Okay,
can't
yeah,
say
Steph
Steph
definitely
and
tries.
Dirk are not the same. Like I think that's the thing. Like Harden tries, Westbrook will
Harden,
try. Like I think that's the thing is like I mean, yes, it's kind of overall, but it definitely feels like the last decade is not both sides. Like Giannis is, but then you even look at Giannis now this year. I don't think Giannis is the same defensive player because of his scheme was more like he was like playing safety and he was just running around the floor helping out whoever needed to help out because they had guys like Bledsoe, Brooke Lopez. Like the way he's even said it, he's like, I'm so long and I'm so quick. They let me kind of leave my guy. And like, yes, that's a kind of quote to his defense. But like the same thing is like, yeah, is Harden the best defensive player in the league? Can he make good defensive stops? He's a big boy. You can't really get around him that easy if he tries. But LeBron, how many years has LeBron taken off defense?
oh yes.
He's had
Tell
quite
me
a
more.
few.
But if it comes down to the closing of the game, I don't think you're getting around LeBron that easy. The man's
He's a big man.
a big boy. Big boy. I think it comes down
So
to okay, good.
who do you guys think will win the MVP? So I unfortunately said LeBron because I do think that's what's gonna happen.
I think there's like 60% more of the season to play. And
That's the most boring answer known to
no,
mankind.
but it is like I feel like this year
Okay.
it's almost like
Given that, who do you think would get to a top 4 seed to earn it? So you're saying like, all right, we've only played this far.
okay.
Do you see any team projecting to get to a spot where you can be like, all right, well, I think
Ooh.
the Blazers can be the 2nd seed in the West.
I don't
Do
even
you
think
see that?
if Lillard is a top 4 seed, I think it's finally time to give him an MVP where he's like done the All-Star break thing, like he's carried a team Like even that one year they made the Western Conference Finals over the Nuggets. Like Lillard, time and time again, we know he shows up in the playoffs, shows up in the regular season. He averages like 27, like 5 and 6 or something like that. I I think if he is the 4 seed, if he's the definitive 4 seed, not like he's 18. I don't know what it's gonna be at the end of the season. I had to think like 46 and 26 or something like that. I'm trying to think of what it would be. Yeah, that's 72. Like, and that's like a definitive 3rd seed, 4th seed. And he doesn't get CJ McCollum back for a while, and CJ's not dropping 27 a game. Like, I'd give it to him, but I think it is almost like one of these guys on Denver or Golden State, like Curry or Jokic. If they sneak up into that 4th seed and they kind of take that spot, I mean, yeah, I know Jokic has Murray, but he's not close to being like like this year. It's like I've watched so many Nuggets games, and Murray just kind of I forget he's out there. Like if I don't know you're out there for 4 minutes, that's scary. And I mean Curry, the same thing. Curry is carrying hot garbage. I mean, yeah, Draymond helps him, but I don't think anyone in the East is gonna win it. I hear some snickering over there. What are you snickering about?
I wanted to turn. I was looking at the standings and I saw the games being played and it was Clippers Utah and I kind of got excited to see what was going on. And first it showed Utah's box score and I saw Mitchell with a classic 1 for 6 in the first half. But I was like, oh man, like Paul George and Kawhi must be giving him problems.
Why is
Neither of
that
them are
playing?
playing.
Yeah.
Same with Paul George,
I
and
don't
it's
like
a
Paul
tie
George
ball
is
game.
playing.
I don't understand. I don't understand the Clippers sometimes. Like they will, they alternate off and on games, and it's crazy. Sometimes I don't know how they win these games. I don't know how they're in it. Sweet Lou, primary score.
Primary score. I mean, I get okay. Like Giannis can't win it. Like it just feels like I don't want to admit. I don't think Durant can't win it now that he has Harden. Correct?
Durant can't win it because he has.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how they could do that. Like you
How
have
could you win
three
MVP with James Harden and Kyrie
MVPs.
Irving on your team?
I think
Yeah.
it's gonna be the most split MVP voting because I think you're gonna have a ton of East Coast reporters split. Like it's gonna be like the Civil War. Like they're gonna vote someone on the Nets or Embiid. Like it's just one or the other is gonna get these votes, and then you're gonna
It's
get the split reporters in the Nets camp that can't decide. Do we go with Kyrie, who's scoring the most points? Do we go with
definitely not
Harden, who's
Kyrie.
getting the most assists? Do we go with Durant,
You,
who's overall the best? Like
there's your
this is
answer. There's your
we
answer right there. None of
I'm
them.
saying that's why this season MVP is going to be so weird. Is because you're going to have so many players split votes. I don't think you're going to have a clear-cut winner.
Well, it's like
I
that
don't
guy
know.
who
I think
robbed.
something weird is going to happen. Like
Like that.
I honestly think Giannis has a better chance of getting a third than like Curry. Like I think it's going to be harder
Do you
for
know what the
someone to move.
Golden State Warriors Twitter machine is?
No, but I'm saying like if they
Like you
only
want
get
to
the
talk about
third seed,
Russian bots? Golden
yeah,
State's got
yeah.
more.
All the Jeremy Lin voters for All Star are just
The Klay
waiting
Thompson
on
voters
Twitter.
for All Star.
I just think I think it's hard to surpass that top four team in the league
I guess
thing,
so,
right?
what I was
Like
trying to get, I guess what I didn't really get at too well is like if the West is tight and it's like a game or two between the 4 seed and the 10 seed, like it kind of was last year. How can you really give an MVP in that range? Like whereas in the East, if there's a guy like they're like, yeah, the top 2 teams are the best, but this third team, like Sabonis goes off and is like ripping off like 30s and 12s for 2 straight months.
mhm.
Like if the Pacers didn't have Sabonis, they'd be Orlando Magic range. I guess I just think of it very simplistically. If I add an average player there, where the hell am I going to be? The Sixers, if I add an average player to Embiid, we're going to be a decent team. The Brooklyn, decent team. The Bucks, you're starting to get a little more to the kind of
They have like
range.
niche roles. I think that's a hard way to do it. I like that idea. Like if you took him
Yeah,
off, how would this team be affected? But like Giannis is such a niche player where you can't like replace him that way.
yeah,
Or kind of like when like last season or the season before that with Harden. Like if you replaced Harden with a random player, it's like,
they would
well,
die.
they would die because a random player can't be like this
Focal
entire
point.
offense workhorse just doing like dribble 3 times, step back, dribble three because it's the most efficient shot ever, right? Like I don't think I
I
think it's a
guess that
hard way to do,
was.
but I like what you're thinking. I think it's really hard.
I guess that's why I went into the season and I didn't pick Luca to be MVP
That was the biggest trap
because
bet
I was
in
like,
the history of fucking trap bets.
and
I
I
love
looked
it.
at it and I'm like, I'm sorry, Dorian Finney-Smith. I know Lucas has like this like love affair with Tim Hardaway Jr., but
He's a baller. Yeah. He's scoring in
okay,
the NBA.
he's an 18 point a game kind of guy. I can find that anywhere else.
Yeah.
But like, there's nothing else here. So I was like, no, I'm gonna go for the diamond in the rough, Jokic. Didn't realize the rest of the team was absolutely worse than the Sixers bench. I I guess that comes down to this. I think this is my last point on MVP, and then we can kind of bounce around the leagues. Hour 26, not bad. How much emphasis do you guys put on the rest of the team when you're looking at an MVP? You're like, okay, cool. I see this guy's stats. He's dominating. I watched the Sixers the other night, played the Jazz, said it many times. The minute the Sixers bench came in, it was like Jordan Clarkson walked up and it was like, "What's up?" And your girlfriend's right there, okay? Like, all right. Hey, what's up? How you doing? And Jordan Clarkson goes, just punches you in the face, dropped you, and took your girl. That's what he did with the Sixers' entire bench. He alone scored what, 40, 42?
Yeah.
Even though you texted me and said it was all Ben Simmons' fault. I know you were in Lovaboo, Vermontville. I don't know.
The
Where.
best defensive team, best perimeter defender, give up 62 points.
Look, we understand that doesn't even make sense. But we understand the fact that this team is Korkmaz. Like, Thibault has no offense. There's no offense. So all of a sudden, if you take Embiid out of the equation, I know they staggered a little bit. Like, this is what I see. Like, I know that's the kind of what hinders LeBron's argument is that the bench is so good of the Lakers. They have good complementary players. So they kind of like, would they be horrible without like LeBron? It's kind of what goes back to my argument just a minute ago. It was like, I don't know if you look at Jokic. His bench fucking sucks. Other than Will Barton. But he's honestly almost a starter level player. But it's just like same thing with Kawhi. Like these guys who are like these top four seeds, like the team's constructed so well. It's gets complicated where I don't know if I want to like hinder them from getting MVP votes because the rest of the team is so freaking good. Or does they make the rest of the team really good? I think that kind of bounces off what I've been contemplating this MVP season so far.
I agree.
Damn, I
That
thought
was
I
a good
was
final note.
good final note.
I agree too.
Wow, you guys are so fun. Now, let's just hit a couple topics. Do we want to do the Draymond topic first? Do we want to do that everyone hates the... We already talked about the All-Star game. We don't have to do that. Let's touch on Draymond. I think it's the elephant in the room. Draymond comes out and says it's bullshit what's happening to Drummond, even though we knew the Jared Allen trade was happened. Drummond was obviously going to get supplemented for that player. I mean, I guess, what do you guys think of Draymond going, like, it's kind of a double standard with the organization being allowed to bench players because we're trying to save them for a trade? I mean, I personally get it if there's a trade right in front of you. But do you guys see a Drummond trade coming out of thin air? I don't.
I'm gonna let Dave go off on this one because he wanted to touch on it. Go off. Tear this man apart.
So I saw it while trying to kill time, casing mail, as I do. And I saw Draymond freaking out about it and stuff. And my initial reaction was, holy shit, like another player who wants even more power kind of thing. That was my initial read off of it and stuff. And then I read into it a little bit more and stuff like that. And I still believe that it's very hypocritical to be like, well, we like the players need more power and stuff, and we're trying to do all this stuff, and teams can do this. It's not fair. I don't feel as strongly about it, but I still do think that it's kind of hypocritical, where it's like, all right, like we understand, like it sucks that players are being told that you can't play and stuff, but how much different is it than Harden going and showing up to the Rockets and being overweight and not trying at all? So it's like, what's the difference between the two? It's kind of like you're trying to point the finger at at people who are doing the same exact thing that you were doing.
I guess I think like the biggest difference for me was because I was thinking about this the entire time. I was like, okay, like I agree with what Draymond saying, and I think the biggest problem is that instead of saying, hey, we're gonna start Jared Allen and we'll bring Drummond off the bench, we're gonna look for a trade for him or a buyout situation so he can kind of figure out what his next step in his career is gonna be. They said, no, we're gonna try and trade you. You're not playing any more games. You just warmed up, but we're gonna send you back into your street clothes. You're gonna sit on the bench from now on until we figure out what we want to do with you. It's like, okay, well, we're not trying to win basketball games. Right there, we have a guy who gets paid what, almost $30 million, 25, something like that, and he just sits on the bench. And he gets paid a ton of money. I think that's the biggest thing is like this guy's healthy. He wants to play basketball. I mean, we all watched the Reddit video of how awful he can be on offense and he doesn't make the greatest decisions, but he's not asking to get traded. He's not doing anything. And I mean, it is 100% their right to not play him. It's the coach's decision. But when they come out publicly saying we are trading him, like we want to find a like a next situation. But I mean, the Cavs could use him right now. They don't have Larry Nance anymore. I guess they still have JaVale. It's not like they couldn't play him games. I think that's my biggest takeaway is like if there was like, hey, we're gonna trade you tomorrow, like in the next like 3 days. And it I guess the only caveat is if they're his agent and the organization kind of came to this conclusion saying that we agree, we don't want to play, find us a trade or buy us out, and he's going to Brooklyn.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know. I think you guys had pretty good points. The kind of the biggest thing for me is that it feels a lot like the NBA will always be hypocritical on any of their stances. And they really
Never.
opened Pandora's box with, the player empowerment movement. But then after listening to what Draymond said, my initial thought was like, yeah, I mean, if everyone's going to have their voice, players are going to have their power, and then to start the season off, you are giving warnings to teams about resting. You're giving warnings out, threats. We're going to play the best players prime time. We're going to put out the best content. And then all of a sudden, like, you're sitting Drummond, you're sitting Blake Griffin, and they're healthy, and there's no reason to sit them. It's like, okay, well, now you're not putting out the best content because of this reason. And it kind of is, shitty in a degree saying, like, all right, Drummond, like, we're going to trade you and we're going to publicly tell everybody we're trading you, when that is a weird business practice because that doesn't have to be in the public forum, right?
No.
Like, that could be any phone call that a GM makes to another GM. Like, it's publicly known this guy is being shopped, but you don't tell everybody we're not playing you because we're trying to like hold on and preserve whatever value you have left. Like, it's kind of embarrassing too for like Drummond. Like, it's weird. Like, they don't even want him to perform to show off that he's good enough. They're like trying to hope that GMs just look at his stats now. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of a crappy situation. It's really hypocritical. Um, I don't know how to solve it because you can't retract this player empowerment movement. You can't contract
Yeah.
players being able to talk about the rules and standards. I don't know. I think you have to start putting out the best content, and the NBA has to just bite the bullet and do it. I don't know what they're trying to be, but it really feels like in situations like this, they're like a third rated league. Like they're not at the NFL's level. They're not. I guess I don't follow baseball enough, but I would want to assume that baseball would do something better than this
No.
because they're
No. No.
hard ass
No.
guys.
No.
But like the NBA, you're just letting first you're letting players run amok, and you're letting owners not put out their best content all the time. So it's like I don't know what to do with this until you wait till the playoffs, and then teams are forced to play their best lineups. Right? It's just like even I think the other thing that's annoying is Bertans held out the bubble, not because he was scared of COVID, not because of health
Don't want to get hurt.
injuries. He just didn't want to get hurt. Like he wanted to protect his
Money.
projected salary, and then this season, who
And paid
knows?
off.
If Bertans plays like he's playing now in the bubble, he's not getting paid, right? So it was in Bertans' best interest, but it wasn't in the best interest of the fans and content. I don't know. They're not. It's just a really bad situation, and I think Draymond is right in kind of the world that the NBA made. That's where I kind of stood on his quotes.
I agreed with pretty much everything Draymond said, and it just seems like the NBA is like you're kind of hinting to. So it's at this like fork in the road. Do we go the NFL route, or we just go like screw the players?
You can't go the NFL route.
You
anymore.
can't. You can't with the
I
way
think
the
they
NBA is
lost.
going.
They don't have leverage anymore.
But they almost need to take this middle road where they go, we're gonna punish some players, and they're terrified to do that.
Yeah.
But guess what? 90% of fans would freaking love it. If like James Harden had gotten fined or suspended 10 games, like I think most fans would be like, yeah, screw that guy. He just pulled like a Vince Carter, but almost worse. Like, and I think the difference is kind of what you were saying, Dave, is like Harden has gotten what he's wanted for the last decade.
Oh yeah.
Drummond got traded for trash. Like I think the chips they traded for Drummond, like the potato chips, not actually like pieces on the table, but the actual potato chips, like they didn't really. Detroit didn't even want to like give them up. You know what I mean? Or Cleveland.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, trying to think the right way to say this and stuff. It's like, but of course, like, of course, Harden gets like whatever he wants because he's one of the best players in the league, and Drummond doesn't get that same.
But what's the
And it's just
value of Drummond?
way it works.
I guess it's what's the value of Drummond?
There's like, I mean, he gets rebounds.
I guess that's what, like, at the end of the day, it's like we're sitting a guy who gets like 16 rebounds a game for Jared Allen, who's a good young player, but the trade deadline's a month away. Like, it's not like it's next week. If it's next week, it makes sense. It's not next week.
Mm-hmm.
We're a month away from the trade deadline. Like, what are we doing here? Oh, we're making sure he doesn't. It has to be something on the inside. I mean, it's the same scenario with Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin doesn't want to play. He's sick of this. Blake got the raw end of this deal more than anybody, and it's the fact that Blake was told, "I'm going to be a Clipper for life," and they traded him within 4 months.
I don't know if there's a solution to get rid of Blake other than cutting him. Kind of. I don't know how you make a trade work because it doesn't make any sense really anywhere. Like I don't know who's willing to give up that much cap. You don't even have to give up like young assets, but I guess you cut. But like you have to give up cap that's already tied to players because nobody is like a cap vacuum at this point. You don't have a Sixers that have like 60 million.
The only team is
like,
the Celtics.
Do they have? Oh, because they have
the Gordon Hayward exception, but it doesn't. They'd have to trade like Gordon Hayward and Tristan Thompson.
You need to
send him back.
Player. It just like that kind of sucks too. Like that would be a huge gamble, I guess, but it's like 1 year Blake. Big of a gamble.
I don't think it's worth
I
it.
don't love it, but I mean, I guess do it. I mean, you only have that exception for so long. There's only so many players that are, I don't know, at Blake's level. I don't know what Blake's level is anymore. He's really
I
half-assed
think
for the
that's the.
season.
I think
It
it's
really
the
hurts.
big thing. I just think some players get overpaid, and you make the trade, and guess what? You're gonna ride out into the sunset. Drummond, you will get picked up by an NBA team next year. There's no
I
doubt in
mean,
my freaking mind. Someone will pick you up because you're not gonna get paid $20 million. I mean, maybe. Who knows anymore with this league? But
I think he gets a Hassan Whiteside contract
oh
next year.
god,
Honestly,
ugly. It's gonna be so ugly. We would be better GMs because I'd be trading.
I think our problem would actually we wouldn't be able to mesh personalities very well. I I think we'd call like these
No,
players agents, and these players agents would just try to walk over us so hard.
no. What
They'll
it was,
slaughter us
it'd be perfect
prospecting.
because like I'd be like the talking man. I'd butter him up. You guys could do the finances. You guys could be like no, we're not doing this trade. And I'd be like, nah, this guy just wants like
Oh, wait,
16 million.
you just say me for finances?
No, but like Dave, you would be like, no, I'm not spending that much. Actually, never mind, Dave. You love to spend money more than me or Lucas.
You got that right.
I think
So
what
Dave would
we would
not
need
talk
is
to anybody. We would just have him kind of in the room for good moral support.
I would be
we
screaming in
need a
defense.
retired screaming defense in every meeting. Does he play defense?
Dave would be like, can we sign Hakeem Olajuwon? Is he still in the league right now? Can I get him?
Oh, that's just hurtful.
Can I have him because he's good at the defense? Everyone else sucks. It was, I feel like it was a lull of a week in the NBA. I think there was like a few things happened, but it just like the games weren't. There's a couple standout games, but they just kind of just. We're getting into this point where it's like we're 2 weeks away from the All-Star break. That may or may not happen, and we're getting a lot of COVID again, and it just seems like the season's like. Does this season feel like it's longer than any other season for you guys? Because this first 30 games feels like it's dragging.
I don't know. There were times last season that I thought it was really bad. Like lull, nothing great was going on. It's kind of sluggish. They do these
It's
like
because you
midway
guys'
through the
team
year.
sucked.
That's probably true.
Started off so hot, but yeah, I don't know.
Won
I
4
think
in a
there's
row.
always that lull middle time of the season that kind of stinks.
You know what would make it more exciting? NBA Red Zone. I thought about that more. Like I thought about that
It'd
for
be
like
perfect.
2 hours
What would
after
you
we were done
do?
doing our
Whoa,
podcast.
let's not
And
get
I'm like,
let's save this for a big podcast. I'm thinking next week. Let's have our blow it up NBA season podcast. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Blow it up. Blow up the
wait,
league.
are we gonna get in a fight for 3.5 hours? Like
yes,
we did on
it's.
Discord?
I mean, at this
Probably.
point, everyone's gonna be like so sick. Everyone's gonna be talking about the same jargon, the same repetitiveness. Like, we went with a Timberwolves route today, which will hit every fan in the league. They love Timberwolves talk. But anything else you guys want to hit on tonight?
I think we got it.
Yep.
No. Thank you so much for listening to the NBA Nightcap. It's been a pleasure. Make sure you follow our Twitter, Nightcap NBA, Instagram, NBA Nightcap. Pumping out the content there, giving you all that kind of good stuff that you like to need, Make sure you're following us. If you're watching us, we're on YouTube, NBA Nightcap. If you're not, you can see me overreact to Lucas and Dave saying some of the greatest arguments of all time, how Embiid is the worst player. But until next time, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night.